part 2 of this one-part series, we looked at the story of Jesus' birth from the Gospel of Luke to see if it seemed more like history or myth. I've created a word based on Christian apologist William Lane Craig's ideas about mytho-history, which is how he describes the first 11 chapters of Genesis, distinguishing those chapters from the rest of the Bible. The word I coined is InCraigable. To give you a little more context, if you haven't watched the earlier video, here are Craig's comments regarding the plausible historicity of the Garden of Eden story in Genesis.
I mean, when you read a story about two people in an arboretum with these magical trees whose fruit, if you eat it, will grant you immortality or knowledge of good and evil, and then there's this talking snake who comes along and tempts them into sin. And then you have this anthropomorphic God walking in the cool of the garden, calling out audibly to Adam in his hideout. You think, well, of course this is figurative.
So that's our standard for plausibility. In this video, we're going to look at the story of Jesus' birth as told in the Gospel of Matthew, which is not only completely different from the story told in Luke, but wholly irreconcilable as well. And I'm going to be asking you the same question. Does it seem like history, or is it simply InCraigable? Matthew begins his gospel with a genealogy of Jesus, which traces Jesus' lineage through Joseph, who is supposedly not the biological father. And he traces it all the way back to Abraham, a character no one can find in actual history. He also gives only 42 generations for the 1700 years covered, an average of 40 years per generation. So what do you think? Historical or InCraigable? Next, Matthew tells us that while Joseph and Mary were engaged and still yet to be married, Mary was found to be pregnant. Joseph was going to quietly divorce her. That's what it says. But then an angel appeared to Joseph, telling him to take Mary home as his wife and name the child in Mary's womb Jesus, which he does. How about this one? Historical or InCraigable? After Jesus was born in Bethlehem, Magi came to Jerusalem to ask about the newborn king of the Jews, which they discerned by seeing his star rise. King Herod found out about this and was not happy. He learned from the Jews that the Messiah was to be born in Bethlehem. He also learned from the Magi exactly when the new star first appeared, sending them off to find this newborn king of the Jews so he, King Herod, could worship him as well. The Magi then left Herod and followed the star until it stopped where Jesus was. The Magi had found their king, whom they worshipped, and gave presents of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Then they were warned in a dream that they should not tell Herod where the child could be found, and they left Palestine secretly. So what do you think about this whole story of the Magi? History or InCraigable? Next up, an angel appears to Joseph in a dream and warns him to take Jesus and Mary to Egypt because Herod is going to try to kill the baby Jesus. Joseph complies and gets the flock out of Dodge, but when Herod realizes he's been duped by the Magi, he orders all the boys in the vicinity under 2 years of age to be killed. Later, when Herod finally dies, an angel tells Joseph that it's safe to return, but he returns the family to Nazareth instead. Does this sound like history, or is it InCraigable? If you think these stories of Jesus' birth sound historical, like they represent the way the world actually works, I simply don't know what to say to you. Sure, there are no talking snakes or trees offering immortality, but there are angels aplenty, stars which act like Google Maps, and a story of infanticide which has no basis in fact, among a heavenly host of other oddities which bear no resemblance to the reality of life on earth as you or I experience it. For me, this is no different in kind than the story of Adam and Eve. Both are simply InCraigable. Once again, I'm me. Thanks for watching.